All right, we are live, and I am so excited. I am so excited to be coming live today. We are doing this here on my Facebook profile, which has been a year, I think, since I've done a live over in our Facebook group, Online Business Builders, and also on our YouTube channel. And it is with great delight, I tell you guys, with great delight that I'm introducing a friend of mine, Barb Ashcraft, to you. Today, she is going to bring her brilliance. She is an author, a mentor, and a thought leader. And she loves assisting other people, supporting their health, their wellness, and their lifestyle goals. Now, her book, this is great. She's written this book called When Your Bucket List Springs a Leak. Love that title. Oh, great, right on cue. Look at that. It's just a hint of how she shares with her audience, do overs. We all want those do overs in life. The undos, wouldn't that be great? We could undo. And those life preservers, throw those life preservers out when we're traveling or with health issues or even in our business. So I first met Barb in a networking group, and she has this call on her heart to work with folks and provide resources for folks who are really struggling with grief, either themselves or particularly they have loved ones who are going through, you know, a journey of grief. And what do you say? What do you say without putting your foot in your mouth? What can you say that's helpful? And so she's going to share a bunch of stuff with us today. So hold on, because these are real life applications that we can start applying today. So, Barb, thank you for being here today.
It's a thrill. Thank you. I am totally blessed.
Well, what I'd like you to do is tell the audience a little bit more about you. Now, I've given kind of the bio stuff, but who
Okay.
is Barb, and how would your best friend introduce you?
Oh, how would my best friend introduce me? Well, actually, I was just in Alaska and I just had a wonderful chance to reconnect with my high school BFF after 40 years. So,
Wonderful.
how would she introduce me? Well, I used to be shy. and for the first 3 years of Sunday school, I only saw shoes because I never looked up. But, when the Lord gives you a reason, He gives you a passion, then there's a reason to look up and there's a reason to speak what He's given you. So that's just a tiny nugget. I've been 40 years an entrepreneur, and with COVID, I too experienced a loss with my business because COVID sort of demolished a lot of what was set in place. So it's not just someone passing or the death of a marriage or the death of finances, but what there's a lot of loss out there. And so this is a passion project for me.
Well, I'm excited to hear what you have to share with us today, and everybody get ready because this is going to be great. Now, when we were talking a little bit before, um, and what I know about what you're doing too, you've got, but you call it fulfillment needs. And I'd like you to um, speak a little bit about that and how you can help people figure out what their fulfillment needs are.
Okay. Well, I am, first of all, I've always, well, not always, but I found being an entrepreneur, personal development is key. I think it was Zig Ziglar that said, if you want more, you have to become more. And so personal development, and getting that kind of basis is so key. And for me, I thought, being a Christian, walking my walk since I think 84, I thought I knew what my purpose was. And so, enjoying personal development, I went to a workshop just to get more, fill myself up. And I participated in a workshop called Uncover What Really Fulfills You. And it was just a step by step process. And I was blown away because I found something that made total sense that I had no clue about, that really made sense. And it was finding my top four fulfillment needs. So, what are fulfillment needs? Well, we might know them as our core values, our motivators, our life purpose, our reasons for being, our calling, whatever. But being able to have a process to, we call it survivor. We take 30 fulfillment needs and we shrink them down to the top four, and to just know that those are things that when they're when they're met, you feel fulfilled. And so for me, my four fulfillment needs are: no surprise, community; no surprise, connection; and then the other one is accomplishment. And the surprise for me was fairness. And I found that those throughout my career have been pivotal. And so, just a real short story on how these make a difference for you, especially when you're not feeling fulfilled, when you're having challenges, is is to be, if you know what they are and you can target, okay, let's see how, what's a strategy how I can feel fulfilled with, for instance, um, community. Well, even though I've been in and around natural health since 1981, I have never enjoyed exercise. So it's just, I'm a thinker, I'm a writer, I'm a reader, and just, I know it's obviously necessary, but it's not my go-to. It's not like that's gonna, really do something for me. But what I found is a strategy by going to a ladies' fitness group.
Yeah,
Yes, what do I get? I get connection, I get community, and I do get exercise. I do accomplish something. So I get three of my four fulfillment needs met. And so it's a way of saying, wow, okay, even doing stuff that we might not really be high on our list, you can use your fulfillment needs to be able
right,
to
right.
help do that, to get it into your life and do what you know you need to do. So that's just a
Exactly.
little side story.
Right. And when we're in alignment with those needs and
Mm-hmm.
we're feeding them,
Mm-hmm.
everything just feels right. We can
Mm-hmm.
go through life going through the motions, and I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people end up doing that. I
Mm-hmm.
I was guilty for years and years going through the motions. It was all I could do to get out of bed, to get to work, get home, make dinner, do go all the things.
Mm-hmm.
But was that fulfilling me? And
Mm-hmm.
so many years, I didn't even step back to think, am I fulfilled? But
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a new awareness these days, and I love it. And especially love having what I've learned as an entrepreneur like
Mm-hmm.
you. You have to get yourself in the right place before you
Yeah.
can help other people. And I
Yes.
think that's why we started with this question, is because um, for us to help our friends who may be out there hurting and having the grief, and being an instrument to help them, we have
Mm-hmm.
to help ourselves and be the
Mm-hmm.
best versions of ourselves too.
It
So
basically is the oxygen mask story in the airplane. It
yeah,
definitely, the self care button. But the end result of when you have those fulfillment needs met is you have joy. Eh,
exactly.
So celebrating the
Exactly.
sprouts of what's happening, not waiting for the full crop, but let's celebrate the sprouts as they're happening.
Exactly. Well, in all of that, as you're fulfilling yourself and getting yourself in alignment, you came up with this compassion and action. You can see that down in her description. Um, Tell me a little bit about how that came to be.
Well, it's actually, it started off rather selfish which I know self-care can also be self-driven. But last fall, I had 4 friends that became widows in a real short period of time. It was shocking. It was one after another. And I just thought, how can I serve? How can I serve these people? I mean, they need help, but I felt what I call the great hesitation. I was frozen. And I thought there's got to be some tools. And with my entrepreneurship, I've always been the hub of being able to bring things together, create the tools, create the trainings, create the, what is needed to hand off to
Sure.
for other people to benefit from. And so selfishly for me first, I thought I've got to find out, well, as an entrepreneur, you know that coaches always say, okay, what are your top clients? What's keeping them awake at night? And when my coach, my mastermind coach, asked that question, that was right in the midst of this, I became right through the ugly cry. I was like, oh, of course they're wondering, financially, how am I going to make it? Is there enough to go carry on? And legally, all the stuff coming at me and counseling. What do I need? Who am I? Who am I now? I used to be a couple. Now I'm a single. And pastorally, what's the Lord saying to me? What's it all about? And so at that point, this compassion and action just opened up a whole wonderful arena of wonderful experts being drawn to me so that I could interview them. And through that process, I'm learning tons, but also I'm able to create a toolkit of these interviews where people can learn what to say, what to do, and some of the platitudes that get thrown out there. And just, I didn't want to carry the guilt around of not being able to approach these people because that's where I was at. I was frozen. And I think universally, a lot of us suffer from what we call grief illiteracy. We just don't know what to do. And so
Right.
it's become a passion project. And the Lord just keeps putting it on my heart. In fact, I want thank you for letting me join the group. And it said, share your favorite verse. So can I share this?
Yes.
So this is one that I find really helpful. It's Proverbs 3:3 and 4. Allow mercy and truth. And in brackets, I put loyalty and kindness to be the attitude of my heart, expressing them through my actions to people I encounter.
Oh, that's
And,
beautiful.
I just, it's just so wonderful to see. I just, had a meetup with one of those widows this morning, and she just blessed me in such a way. She said, "I'm always so encouraged after we get together." And I just thought, oh, that just means the world to me.
Doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just going to take a moment here to give a couple shout outs. We got some folks watching. Hello, Bernice. It's great to see you. And Delroy. Delroy, thanks for popping on. You've been talking about, what do we say to those grieving friends? And I've had friends that have lost, spouses and children.
Mm.
Particularly is difficult. You've hinted that this toolkit is going to help us know how we can, talk to our grieving friends. But
Mm.
you know, beyond that, what are some things you can give, little nuggets you can give
Ah,
today?
okay. Let's see what I've got here. I've got, and definitely, yes, do take advantage of the free toolkit. One of the first resources I shared was 5 pages of different aspects. And one was written by a notary, and she did an amazing post. It's called Good Grief, Be Kind to Others. And she talks about, because she's across the desk from a lot of grieving people. And so she had some general guidelines. So these are uh, resources that are also on my community page as well that I've created. So, so for instance, let me just share one or two here. Is, if you don't know what to say, just say that, I'm at a loss for words. I really don't know how to express myself or what to say. And I am so sorry for the death of. And mentioning the person's name, they need to be acknowledged that they were a person. They were special in whatever regards. And what I found really key for me is not putting pressure on the grieving person by saying, "How are you doing?"
Ooh, that's
And
a good one. Yeah, because
yeah,
isn't that what we want to do first? How you
absolutely,
feeling, or what can
yeah,
I do for
right. Because
how,
here's what happens is that that person could be fine right this minute, and 10 minutes later they've lost it, but
yeah,
they
yeah.
don't want to disappoint you.
Oh,
They
yeah.
want to make you feel better. So they say, "Oh, I'm fine." So a better greeting is saying, "Ah, it's so good to see your face." Just a statement instead of a question. Because often when we're in that mega stress, the brain's not able to even access what the questions on how to respond. That can be a real burden for a grieving person. But just, and if they're huggable, by all means, human touch is great to be able to do that. And really, if someone's having a bad day, if they're having a bad day, you know, don't judge, don't take it personally. It's just, grief comes in waves, and they don't even know how they are going to be throughout the day or the weeks or the months, so
Right. Right.
just, accepting where they are. In fact, I have in the toolkit, I have uh, some very special people that share how we can edify the people who are grieving. And they're just really short little things, like just being able to compliment them on, for instance, being able to say, "Sally, I'm just amazed. Look, here you are going through this really tough time, but I have to tell you, I am so impressed. Look, you've got your hair done, you've got your makeup on. You're you're doing great. I'm so proud that
Yeah.
you're able to do this." And just edifying the little things that people can do, because many times they don't want to get out of bed for weeks or months or whatever, so being able to do that. But I have so many great, great, great interviews that are, the nuggets are put in the toolkit, and then the full interviews are put on our community website. Um, so thank you.
Okay. Well, Jane
Yes,
says
yes.
she's loving this and she loves your glasses.
Ah,
And you guys, you are going to get a link to this toolkit. So hang on, because that's part of the joy of sharing this whole all this information, is that you can get access to that as well. So um, thanks for that. So you've been talking about good things we can say, which is good, but
mhm.
what if we're saying some of those really awful things? What would you say would be maybe the most memorable thing you've heard someone has said that isn't helpful, something we
Mhm.
can avoid?
Well, some are so terrible that
I'm
uh,
sure.
that uh, they just you can't even comprehend. Like some people have said, uh, are you going to go and get accounts? Are you going to go for treatment? And stuff like. I mean, it's just like,
Not helpful.
oh man, just no. There's so, and that. time heals all things. Well, when you've lost a child, no, that child is always a part of that family. That mom is still always going to be a mom, and she's still also going to be raw when the child's friends are graduating or
Hitting those
marrying or whatever.
milestones.
Yes,
Yeah.
and seeing the contrast of what that
Right.
is. In fact, on Thursday, I'm interviewing a mom who lost her son, and that will be a future interview that will be on. Let me maybe tell you about the tool. The toolkit
Yeah,
is
do that because I was gonna ask anyway, so tell me
right.
about that
So
toolkit.
so it makes more sense if I tell you what.
Yeah.
So what you do is you sign up to get the toolkit, and then you're automatically put on my list because monthly I'm adding. It's a gift that keeps on giving.
There you go.
So
I like that.
so here we have new interviews all the time with different aspects. And the one I'm doing this Thursday is, and we're going to talk platitudes. What are the awful platitudes being a grieving mom, and what is a better option? And so that is going to be my Thursday interview that I'm doing that will be coming up in a future email to the people who get on to
The
the
toolkit
toolkit.
list.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
that's because there's so much to learn, but there's such an array of good information, good experts. But so what I'm doing is I'm providing the shortcut. Instead of people running out there and trying to dissect all this, I'm being the prospector
Mhm. Yeah,
and
you're doing all
and
the heavy lifting.
yeah, and digging for the gold, and
Yeah.
then and taking that and putting it in parts in these interviews, and then again having this compassion and action community vault where everything is stored. So if they just strictly want to support that ministry and go there and just say, hey, this is where it all is in full length, there's much deeper understanding that they can gather there. So
Well, that's fantastic. And um, I think whether we need it today or not,
mm-hmm,
having access to tools like this, you never
mm-hmm,
know when you're going to lose a loved one or a
mm-hmm,
friend is going to lose a loved one. And
mm-hmm,
to be able to, like you say, tap into this wisdom that you're
mm-hmm,
collecting, you're
mm-hmm,
bringing it all together for us, all the
mm-hmm,
different topics I know that you have, and you're continuing to add to it, and the
mm-hmm,
Lord's bringing people to you. I know you've been telling me how exciting it is to meet people that are going to be another great resource
mm-hmm,
for people, for you and for other people. So
mm-hmm,
that's fantastic. I know we were talking about when we come at a loss as a faithful person, as a believer in Jesus,
mm-hmm,
and having that hope for salvation, um, that kind of bubbles up joy in us no matter what's going on. But
mm-hmm.
how would you answer the question about how joy and sadness can coexist?
Well, I think if we step back and realize, probably, and this is me personally speaking, when I've been frustrated in my career, in my life, it's when I was my expectation of joy was all encompassing. Let's say, for instance, let's just say I had a flare up with one of my kids, and Mother's Day is approaching. And I'm thinking Mother's Day's, touted to be the end all and the be all, and you're the queen for the day,
For the
etc.
day, yeah.
But then there's the awkwardness, or there isn't the harmony that you expected. So when we can be realistic, I think, and think that um, joy comes in nuggets. It comes, but to celebrate it, especially if you're going through loss, don't squash it. because you have lost someone, because sadness is going to be there as well. But the joy can be some of those memories. And what I encourage people to do, if you're have a friend or family member that's grieving, to be able to share some personal feel good story that you experienced with that loved one that they
Oh,
had.
yeah.
Just and bringing, like, I just remember when, what Joe was always there, and whenever he'd come up to me, he'd always give me he wouldn't say anything, but he'd come up and he'd give me the sharp elbow,
Yeah.
and he was always ribbing me like that, and how much I appreciated that he cared enough to make fun of me, you know and just to be able to do that brings warm memories. And I think that gives a reason for people to continue smiling. But another family I met had a huge, huge family. And my assumption was, well, obviously they're real family people and they want to have a big family and it must be warm and fuzzy. And the mom on the stage, the first thing she said is, no, we don't have joy all the time. 80-90% of it could be chaos, but we know every day has a joy nugget. So that's what we focus on whatever is good, whatever is lovely, whatever is good report, and to be able to come from that stand, I think, is really key. And that's also where the fulfillment needs come in, because then you can find out what is it that normally brings you joy and how you can put your life around that to achieve or accomplish that more frequently. So just a
Yeah.
roundabout.
Well, that's awesome because, when we're walking through grief, whether it's us or, someone that we care for, that is,
Mm-hmm.
um, sometimes just being there,
Mm-hmm.
just
Yes.
being quiet, just spending the time and just
Mm-hmm.
letting conversation happen naturally too
Mm-hmm.
can be helpful. I know David's background as a pastor. He has walked with countless families through that
Mm-hmm.
whole grieving process, and he would be the first to tell us that everybody grieves differently too.
Yes, that's
So,
right.
um, I think the resources that you're providing are going to be brilliant for helping us navigate, the different ways that we can support each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we were saying the other day how, everybody is going to leave this world. So
Mm-hmm.
at some point, we're all going to be dealing with grief of our own or grief of someone we care about. So these
Mm-hmm.
tools will be great. What else did you want to share? I don't have any more questions. I'm going to put your links in the chat so people
Mm-hmm.
can find your toolkit. Go over to your website. There's a whole bunch of information there. Get to know Barb a little bit more. Um, but is there any parting words or anything you'd like to share with the audience? The floor is
Um,
yours.
well, a few things that come to mind, and that is, and this was a bonus for me, was that I was doing this, putting this together to serve. But what came back was that I am now better equipped. I know the three documents I should have in place legally. I know the documents for health that I should have in place for both my husband and myself, so that in the event that one of us can't communicate, we can carry on. Um, I also um, have the assurance with finances of knowing many of us have most of our equity tied up in our home, but that doesn't pay for the groceries.
Right.
So how do we access that without having to sell our house and relocate and all of that? So I'm getting a deeper understanding as well. And so what this started out for was to help the periphery, the people around the grieving ones to know better how to serve. But for anyone, like we talked about, nobody's getting out of this alive. We're all going to walk down that path sooner or later, and to take and bring down the trauma by being prepared. Preparation was just something that kept coming up over and over, and how you can have these documents uploaded in the cloud and all these things, was just amazing. But because your group is marketers, I did want to share one thing, some probably the best words of wisdom that I was ever shared with early in my entrepreneur career. And it's made a huge difference for me. And it's that your products are not your products. Your services are not your services. What your products are people. So nothing moves without going person to person, service to person, products to person. So learn all you can about people. Learn the different ways, the different personalities, how they want to be communicated with. Is that by text? Is that by phone? Is that by Facebook? That by Messenger? Find out so that you can connect in a more real way and meet them. There's nothing more frustrating than sending 10 emails and they didn't open any of them, right?
Right.
So there's so many wonderful things that we can do to hold up each other, but getting rid of some of those nigglies is marvelous. And it's always about the tips and the tools, right? As far as making things easier. So
Yeah, I mean, we find that today in all areas of our life. Totally off topic, but this weekend we were talking to our son, and there are even date boxes now. I didn't even know this. I think this is brilliant.
what's a
You know,
date box?
they get a box. Well, if you have a dog, they call them bark boxes. You can get dog toys once a month and
Oh,
fun things for your dog. Well, this is for dates, so it gives you date ideas and
what?
conversation starters and all of that. And I wish I had a link. I need to get to be an affiliate of that because I think it's brilliant. Couples are looking for creative ways
Yeah,
to keep their marriage, the spark
alive. Yeah.
going,
Uh-huh.
and that's just one example, but there are so many ways we can make our lives easier working with coaches, working with, groups and community. We are
Mm-hmm.
always stronger in community. That's
Mm-hmm.
why we started the Lighthouse Networking Association, was to bring Christians together to strengthen each other.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we have our churches, we have our small groups, we have all of those other communities, but where do you have just a business group?
Mm-hmm.
So um, look around yourselves. Where are you in this world, and how are you serving? Number one,
Mm-hmm.
and how are you being served?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a beautiful thing. So, well, thank you so much, Barb, for coming on today. I'm hoping that folks will reach out and connect with you. I will put your links here wherever this video is being shown. And feel free if you've got questions. I know I've got a couple people still watching, and but I think this was timely.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned early on, it's not just the death of a loved one, a friend, or that, but it's a death maybe of a loss of a job,
Mm-hmm.
or a friendship's
Mm-hmm.
broken.
Yeah.
um, these sort of things can be applied in all sorts of situations. So be sure to
Yeah.
check out Barb's toolkit, be blessed by that. And thank you so much for coming on today.
Well, thank you for creating this community so that we who, are walking our faith have a reason to be a marketplace evangelist, right?
There you
So
go. There you
thank
go.
you.
All right. Well, everybody, you have a marvelous day. Until next time, be safe, be well, and be blessed.